What's up, everyone? Colby and I are about to record our typical Friday show that we're not actually doing Fanfiction Friday today. We're just going to be going over some of the things that Jerry DePoto talked about on his radio appearance yesterday. But in the meantime, while you're waiting for us to post that, check out this conversation that I did with Erica Ayala, who was kind enough to invite me on the Locked On Kraken podcast to talk Winter Classic, some Kraken, some Mariners. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think you'll really enjoy it. It'll be on the other side of this intro. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Seattle sports fans, we are here with a very special crossover episode, or as I like to say on Locked On Kraken, a squad cast. I am joined by Dane, Gonzalez, host of Locked On Mariners. That is your daily podcast for the Seattle Mariners. Excuse me. I'm so excited to talk with you, Ty. I know we've crossed paths in our little virtual studios a time or two, but this is the first time that we're hopping on the microphone and doing an episode together. How are you?
I'm doing great, Erica. Thank you so much for the invite to do this. I'm looking forward to talking hockey. I've been following the Kraken all year long, watching basically every game. So I know the frustrations. I know the ups. I know the downs. I know all of it. And I got to thank you because I'm a newer hockey fan, and Locked On Kraken's one of my biggest resources for learning the game. So,
that's very kind.
Yeah, I especially love the episodes with Allison Lucan. She's great.
Yes.
She's excellent. And just watching this team over the last couple of months here has been a lot of fun. So looking forward to talking about that. Looking forward to talking some M's and some Winter Classic potentially.
Oh yeah, and that's we're gonna start with the goods first. The Winter Classic. Now, I'm sure you've heard the rumors. You had heard the rumors before the official announcement at the time of this recording earlier this week. But we'd been hearing it's going to be Kraken, Vegas Golden Knights. There had been a few different locations thrown out, but we know that it's officially official. We will be taking the ice at T-Mobile Park. So that, of course, is very familiar terrain and territory to you and your listeners. What were your initial reactions when you heard that the Winter Classic was not only coming to Seattle, but that it was coming to T-Mobile?
Oh, I was super pumped because, again, I'm a newer hockey fan, but I'm very aware of the Winter Classic. I've been aware of it for a long time, and I love the whole aesthetic of it. I love the old school vibe. I love the brown pads and all that stuff. It's awesome. I love the jerseys. So I'm through the roof excited about it. Plus I love the Kraken sweaters. I love the reverse retro, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the New Jersey and all that stuff. So really pumped about that. And there's no more beautiful place to host this event than T-Mobile Park, one of the best ballparks in all of baseball, if not the best. And so I'm just I'm beyond thrilled that they were able to work this out and make this thing happen.
Yeah, I've been to T-Mobile Park a time or two well before I even started the Locked On Kraken podcast. It is absolutely beautiful. Love it there. I also think, and maybe I'm biased because I am a New York Metropolitans fan through and through, but there's just some baseball parks where they're not even conducive, in my opinion, Yankees, to baseball, let alone anything else. They're not comfortable, they're not open, but T-Mobile Park has a great flow. That's what you want, especially for a Winter Classic where everyone's, chugging hot chocolate and coffee to stay warm, and the sight lines are beautiful. But before we get into where we're actually going to play, I do want to ask you about two other locations that I heard were in the mix. Your thoughts on that and why you think T-Mobile won out. So one is Husky Stadium. So that's a pretty fantastic view from there, not going to lie. And I hear that Washington football games can get pretty raucous and pretty loud. So there's that. And then essentially a stone's throw away is Lumen Field, which was another option that we'd been hearing tossed about. What are your thoughts? And again, why do you think T-Mobile won out?
So, I'm not involved in those decision-making processes, so I don't really know what's best aesthetically and what's the most convenient for a hockey viewing experience in general. Actually, I've never been to a hockey game. I'm going to my first hockey game tomorrow. I
That's
live in
right.
Toronto, going to see Kraken Maple Leafs tomorrow, so that's going to be cool. But so I don't really know what would be best for a hockey viewing experience, but I feel like, Lumen Field is such a huge stadium that if you're going to be selling all of those seats, that there's going to be, no one's going to have interest in watching hockey from like,
Yeah,
a million miles in the sky, right?
fair enough.
Husky Stadium, that's a really, beautiful place. But I think at the end of the day, the Mariners and also, you got to think that these two teams are very intertwined with the Root Sports connection and all that.
Exactly.
Obviously, the Mariners own Root Sports, so there's a deep connection there already. And so I think it just made the most sense at the end of the day to bring it to T-Mobile Park. And I know that they've put it at a few football stadiums in the past, the Winter Classic, but I feel like it works best in a baseball stadium just because of the classic feel of it all and just everything that goes into it. So I think it's just a perfect match for them to make it happen at T-Mo.
Yeah, I love that. This is a time where calling baseball America's pastime really fits into the vibe, to your point. So I love that. Yeah, we've seen it at Gillette and places like that, but we also have seen that there is an uptick in baseball stadium. I think Coors Field has been there. We know that Citi Field hosted. We just saw that Fenway, that looked super cool. Fenway got to host this year. So yeah, I like the vibes. You mentioned the throwback though. So I mentioned I am a New York Metropolitans fan, but of
Gotta
course
love the Mets. Get a home run, baby. Gotta love the Mets.
Gotta love the Mets. But then of course there's the Seattle Metropolitans, the first ever Seattle and team to win the Stanley Cup. Now you talked about the reverse retros and whatnot. A lot of people are thinking that we might go for the Seattle Metropolitans look for the outdoor classic, but we've also seen that teams, maybe if not on the ice, but for warmups, they go retro with an old school baseball uniform, with the pants up, socks out. That's how we got to do it. So I want to know first, if we were to do a toss back, an homage to the M's, is there a particular uniform or era that you think would really fit into a Winter Classic vibe?
So a lot of people hate this, but I love like the rookie Griffey jerseys, like the Griffey rookie card where he's wearing the with the hat with the yeah, like those uniforms are my favorites of the Mariners. I've wanted them to go back to the royal and gold for so long, and it's never going to happen. And everyone calls me an idiot on Twitter whenever I talk about it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I love those, but
I would love that.
Ken Griffey, so there's that.
Yeah.
Well, both of them, but Ken Griffey Jr. in particular.
So I would love something that paid homage to that, or maybe the Trident.
Yes, I was thinking about that too. That I feel like it fits into our theme, our vibe. That could work.
Yeah, the Mariners though, I mean, like they came in at, in the late 70s, so they don't necessarily have that classic feel that like going back to Fenway feels like, that's just a little bit different. That's like legacy team type stuff. But I think there could be a way to incorporate some of the old school Mariners look into it, or maybe just pay homage to Seattle sports in general. Let's get some Sonics influence in there, something like that. Let's make it happen.
I think you're right. There's probably going to lean into more of the Seattle history. I still think we're going to save the Seattle Metropolitans throwback for after we've at least made a playoff run. I think that makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people are chomping at the bit to see it. It's a really nice throwback. But I agree with you. There's not really that 100-year plus history between, obviously not with us and not with the M's yet. But you know what? I'm curious, Ty, what that means as far as this particular Winter Classic, because we're also competing against the Vegas Golden Knights. So, they're if not for us, they are the brand new kid. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they interpret kind of the classic part of the Winter Classic thing. So, but coming up next, I want to talk a little bit more about the event that will happen, the big event that's going to happen at T-Mobile Park prior to the Winter Classic. You might know a thing or two about, an all-star game that's happening, including a Swingman Classic. So I want to talk about that. We'll get into it with Dane Gonzalez of Locked On Mariners coming up next.
Looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you gotta try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays and I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. And if you're like me where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got just the thing for you. You gotta try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. And what makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they are all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy, only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And if you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later.
All right, Ty, we got your initial reactions to the Winter Classic coming to T-Mobile Park. But before we get to transform likely the outfield into a hockey rink, T-Mobile Park is going to bring the best of Major League Baseball to Seattle this summer in the 2023 All-Star Weekend. So it's just like back to back here for Seattle. I'm sure you've talked about it on your podcast, but for the Locked On Kraken fans, what's the buzz as we are now within the year? We are months away from the All-Star festivities coming to T-Mobile.
The All-Star game is such a beautiful event. And, you know, they hosted it when it was called Safeco Field back in 2001. And obviously I'm biased, but that's my favorite All-Star game of all time. I was like 5 years old when they had that. And I videotaped that thing on VHS, and I probably watched that thing like 8 or 9 times. Cal Ripken's home run, all that stuff. It's great. There's a lot of legacy involved in that. And it's going to be great to bring the All-Star game back to T-Mobile Park to have the Home Run Derby, of course. That's going to be a lot of fun, and I think one Julio Rodriguez, barring any sort of injury, is likely going to participate in that. So that should be a lot of fun. And they recently added the MLB draft to the All-Star Week as well as of a couple of years ago. So the MLB draft will undergo there as well, and the Mariners have 3 top 30 selections in that draft. So they're going to be pretty active on the first night. So, yeah.
I love that. Kraken, Mariners locking up the draft picks.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They a lot of young stars right now in Seattle with Julio, with Matty B, soon to be Shane Wright. Like it's gonna be a lot of, it's a really fun time to be a Seattle sports fan in general. Seahawks got a lot of young guys that are coming up too. It's just there's a lot of fun stuff happening right now. But yeah, with All-Star Week, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's going to be a buzz in that city. This is something that I think the city really needs and deserves, especially with the way that the Mariners are starting to get themselves back on the map right now. I think there's just no better time for the All-Star game to be in Seattle with guys like Julio and Cal Raleigh. It's just going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to try my best to get out there. I'm really going to try my best to get out there. So there might be some Locked On Mariners stuff happening in Seattle around the All-Star game. We'll see. Not promising anything, but I'm going to try.
I hear that. All right. Kraken crew, this is what we have to do. We're going to manifest that for Locked On Mariners. We want good vibes there. We're going to manifest that for them. We believe in manifestation over here.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, and I think, again, I mentioned that, Ken Griffey Jr. is such an iconic, just baseball legend in general, but has made his way back to the Mariners. And he announced that there's going to be the first ever Swingman Classic. So you're really going to have an opportunity, if you do make it out there, or anyone else that's able to go, there's really going to be kind of 2 All-Star games. It's obviously the MLB All-Star game and Home Run Derby, but then also HBCU, of course, for those who don't know, stands for Historically Black College and University. And so Ken Griffey Jr., this is his way of working with MLB and the MLBPA to get more Black black athletes and athletes of color into the sport and profiling them, showcasing them right alongside the MLB All-Star Weekend. So I've been keeping tabs on that story, even outside of obviously Locked On Kraken. It's not a direct hit with Locked On Kraken, but I think that's going to be amazing. There's just some really great stuff that Seattle is doing. I have been going to Seattle for years, even before the Kraken came through. And what I enjoy about what the city is trying to do is really embrace all of the cultural elements, those that are older or, a part of the city's iconic history, and also as the city changes. And I think the sports landscape has really embraced that. I know the Lewicki brothers, at least on our end, have. So I always look for those stories, obviously being a Black woman and a Latina in sports media. So I love to see that, and I'm really excited for that. But, I also want to get into a little bit about what we saw from the M's. I've talked on Locked On Kraken before. I was following what was happening. We talked about, of course, the run this past season, even the season before that, when I was actually out in Seattle. We were getting ready for our first training camp. But you mentioned it, that this is something in the All-Star Weekend, and of course now the Winter Classic, that this city really needs and deserves when it comes to the M's and how they've been performing and what the trajectory is for next season. Ty, what can you tell Kraken fans about what to expect about their Mariners?
Yeah, the Mariners are in a great spot right now. Probably the best spot that they've been in since the early 2000s, with young guys like Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh and George Kirby, and the list goes on and on and on. There are so many names and faces that made this past year just incredible to watch. It was an honor, honestly, to kind of just help tell their story over the course of this year. This team that made history, that broke the drought in the way that it did, and wound up playing in one of the greatest playoff games of all time. Honestly, two of the greatest playoff games of all time. If you want to count the 18 inning slog against the Astros, we don't want to remember that though. But yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible story, and even with guys like Mitch Haniger, Adam Frazier, etc., exiting this offseason, they've brought in players like Colton Wong and Teoscar Hernandez, who are going to energize this ball club and bring a lot to this ball club. And I think fans are going to be very, very excited to get to know those guys and see what they can do. I've been a fan of Teoscar Hernandez for a long time. Of course, I live in Toronto. He's played for the Blue Jays the last few years. He's a lot of fun to watch, and he's going to bring a lot to this team, I believe. And they're still not done, right? Like, they have, left. They basically haven't done anything with free agency, right? And there's a whole discussion that can be had about that. We won't get too far into the weeds about that on this show. But they are still far better than they were last opening day, and I think that's the most important thing here. And there's still a lot of time for them to go out on the trade market and see if there's anything else they can add. Right now, the big target is Brian Reynolds of the Pittsburgh Pirates, outfielder. He's going to cost a lot, and I don't know if they actually have what it takes to land him. But if they did, they'd be in a pretty nice spot to start really, really coming after the Astros and giving them some problems. So fun times in Seattle, and I think that we're getting pretty close to this team contending for a World Series.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can't wait to see it. Of course, this is that time of year for you and your podcast while we're kind of just ramping up and really getting into the meat of the season. But we will have the trade deadline coming just in a few months. And I know, Ty, you've got some questions regarding that. So we're going to get into that next. But I would be remiss, since we're talking about the Mariners and their roster, I have to, of course, mention Elon University legend George Kirby.
That's right, baby. That's right. That's right.
I got my Elon. I went to Elon University. It's in North Carolina.
Awesome.
So, we share that bond as well as Seattle sports. But, and I pick up the magazine and there's a story on Kirby in there. So it was awesome that we got to do this squadcast right then. But all right, Ty, you're going to put me in the hot seat here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Seattle Kraken roster, your most pressing questions as a new hockey fan. You've got a team to root for now. So we'll have you fire away coming up next on this crossover or squadcast episode of Locked On Kraken and Locked On Mariners. All right. We are down in the home stretch, as they like to say in baseball. So let's do it, Ty. You've got some questions, and hopefully I'll do all right holding it down for the Kraken fan base. But what are your most burning questions for me regarding the Seattle Kraken?
All right, so all of these are probably going to be more so personal than for like the entire fan base, but you
Okay,
know
fair
what?
enough.
We're just I'm going to make use of my time here, right?
All right, I love
So,
it. Let's go.
first question though. First question doesn't have to do with the Kraken. I'm going to my first hockey game tomorrow. Like I said, any tips? Any like what should I do? Like what do I do with my hands? What do I do at a hockey game? What am I supposed to do? I've never been to a
Oh
hockey
man,
game before. I
I
have no
love
idea how
this
to act.
question. I
Also,
love this question.
I'm going to be in enemy territory, right? It's the Leafs.
Yes.
It's Scotiabank Arena.
Yes.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm the enemy there. So what do I do?
Okay, well, first things first, if you own any Seattle gear, I highly recommend you wear it because Root Sports is probably going to pick you up. I love the segment that they do and they like pan the audience and they look for the Seattle fans. So that's number one. I can't guarantee it's the safest thing, but I know Toronto fans are pretty intense, but
We're
I think
in
it's
the other
fine.
conference. Like, come on, we only see each other twice a year. It doesn't matter. Like,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
and let's
you
be
know
real,
what?
we're never gonna see each other in the cup.
Yeah, it's not now. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I feel like if you have sporting gear, you either bought it or it was given to you. You have every right to wear it
Yeah.
anytime you want. Now, what I will say is I made the very big mistake of wearing, it was like a crossover baseball hockey thing. And so I'm thinking, all right, I'll wear it was from the Brooklyn Cyclones. So this is a team that plays, in the middle of summer. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, all right, I'm going to go. I'm wearing a hockey jersey. It's going to be fine. I'll be warm. It'll be great. I still have my coat. No, I was absolutely freezing. Just in case it's not evidently clear, the thickness and the way you make a hockey jersey for a baseball team is completely different than a hockey jersey for a hockey team. So I don't know about you, but I don't like being cold. So I would just dress appropriately, make sure that, you have a few layers. That's for sure. As far as what to do with your hands, honestly, it's not dissimilar to going to a baseball game. That every arena has their thing, and it's I think it's going to be a good time. So I think things move a lot quicker. We're used to being able to stretch and just kind of watch things just percolate nice and slow, more of a simmer. Things move faster in hockey, so you definitely got to know that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in and out of there. It's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna go at 7 and I'm gonna be out at 9:30. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's fine. And there's 2 7th inning stretches. You should probably know that.
Yep.
They call them intermissions. So it'll be fine.
Yeah,
You'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great. Yeah, I'm gonna wear my Kraken away jersey, hoodie, all that good stuff. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
It's gonna be great.
Yes,
All right.
do it.
All right, let's talk about our boys.
Okay.
So the one thing that I'll say about the Kraken in general is so I cover the Seahawks, I cover the Mariners. I'm just keeping it casual with the Kraken, and I'm staying there, and I like that. I've been enjoying just watching the Kraken as a fan and reacting just as a fan. I don't have to think critically about it. It's been great. However, I love roster construction. I love roster building. I love transactions. I love all that stuff. We talk about it all the time on Locked On Mariners. Me and my co-host Colby, we just love that stuff. I want to know, because the Kraken are contending right now. They're in a playoff spot. Season ended today. They're in a playoff spot. I know the deadline's coming up in a couple of months. What can we realistically look for, considering where this team is right now in its development? A lot of young guys still kind of just trying to figure it out, how this roster is ultimately going to come together. But what do you do in a year like this?
That's a great question. And it's something that I definitely have my inklings and my opinion on, but I honestly am not sure what Seattle's going to do. I have been saying, anyone who listens to Locked On Kraken for like 5 seconds knows that I am not pleased with how we've constructed our defense. I do think we need some more dynamic defenders that can not only hold the blue line steady, but also are going to be more of what we see as the trend in hockey, which is a little bit more of a spry offensive defender but that can also defend in all 3 zones. And Seattle, when we find ourselves in a bad way, it's usually when we're flat-footed and when we're not covering up on the weak side, or in hockey, you'd say the far post. So those are things that I personally would like to see. the Seattle Kraken, per cap friendly, we have roughly $1 million of cap space. So we have that. We definitely have picks, as we alluded to earlier on the show, that we can use. I don't know, though, that this team is at this point going to really focus on refining their defense, which is a little bit wild to me. In the offseason last year, even at the trade deadline, we really did focus on getting different forwards and dynamic pieces there so we could really be up on the attack. I don't know why personally, but I don't think defense is really top priority. Another thing that makes it maybe a little bit difficult if we're looking not just for defenders, but on the back end, so including goaltenders, is that we have some goaltenders who haven't really been performing the way we expected. And they have pretty decent sized contracts. So we're not going to be able to move Philip Grubauer anytime soon, even if we wanted to. Chris Drieger might be difficult to move because he's not even available fully right now. He's coming off of an ACL injury. And honestly, Martin Jones, for the style that we play right now, it's my opinion that he's our best goaltender. So if we're a team that I don't think is ready to make moves defensively, and we're not able to make moves goaltending wise, I think it might be a like for like, that maybe we're collecting either players or assets that we think we can then flip in free agency, which is exactly what we did last year. So no specifics. I do think if you wanted to look out for certain players, you have certain players that are on 1-year contracts, like my boy, Ryan Donato.
Donnie
Boy. I love Donnie Boy. In this house, we stand Ryan Donato.
Absolutely.
As we should, as everyone should.
Absolutely. We stand Ryan Donato in this house. Absolutely.
Absolutely. He's been fantastic for Seattle, and they got him on, a budget, in my opinion. Morgan Geekie had a solid start, but we've seen that he has made way for Eli Tolvanen, who we picked up on waivers. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what Seattle does. Again, my opinion, they need to find someone on defense, a really solid defender, and someone who, can really stabilize us. I do think that if we want to make the playoffs this year, we have roughly a 90% chance. I think it was Puck Money that put that out today. We have a 90% chance to just make the playoffs. So that's good as of right now. But, that percentage of us winning a Stanley Cup is super small, less than 10% right now. And I do think that's because we can score a lot more than we could last year, but we're not able to necessarily keep other teams off the board.
Oh yeah. I know all about that. Yeah, that's no, I see there's like deniers that the defense is bad, and I see you dealing with it, and no, I have, look, I don't, I've only been watching hockey for about a year and a half, actually watching hockey and actually paying attention to it, but I have two eyeballs, and I know you should probably if there's a guy down in the slot, you should probably cover him.
Probably, not let him.
Should do that if he's maybe just don't let a guy just camp back door. Maybe just don't do that.
Yes. We leave the back door just wide open. My mom would be screaming if I did that, so you can't do that. Let all the bugs, or in this case, the pucks in. Come on.
Can't have it. That 7-2 game against the Oilers, disgusting, gross. That first period was awful.
It was terrible.
I'm glad that we got our revenge last night.
Yes.
Again, to pull back the curtain here, we're recording on Wednesday, but that was nice. That was nice. The 4-goal period, that was great.
Yeah, it was good. And a phrase kind of came out of that, that we're a lunch pail team. And I saw that some people had no idea what that meant, but I was like, that's we're blue collar, we're hard workers, and that's what it's going to take. And when you're a lunch pail team, everyone's got to be all in, and that includes defensively. And so we find success when we play team defense. But this is, if we're talking playoffs, and again, I had an episode, are we pretenders or contenders? If we want to be contenders, we have to get serious on defense, because other teams are going to be serious about scoring the puck. And we right now don't have a top 10 elite level scorer We don't have someone who before the halfway point.
Wait,
in the
Daniel
NHL
Sprong
season,
is not a top 10 elite level scorer?
I know.
Because from what I've
Shocking.
watched, what I've watched, he's the GOAT.
Oh my gosh. Daniel Sprong is another one that I absolutely adore his story. Someone who we got at the trade deadline last year. He came into camp on a PTO. So he didn't even earn a contract. He had to come in as a PTO and then he earned a contract. So that's lunch pail baby all day. That's how we play. But I think we can maintain what we're doing and not have that elite level score. In my opinion, we got to really get some defense, because again, we don't have the capacity, even if we wanted to move around goaltending. So in my case, has to come from the blue line, and so we'll see what Seattle does.
I would love to see it. Come on, Ronnie.
Let's go.
Ronnie
boy.
Ronnie franchise. Come on, come through, boy.
Franchise, the Ron father.
The Ron father, baby. The Ron father.
Let's go. I love it. Yeah. No, I do like what Ronnie Francis has done overall. I do trust him. Overall, I trust him in the front office. They don't always make me feel comfortable. But again, we're just the couch GMs. He's doing it for real. So I think we're gonna be a really compelling team. It's gonna be a grind if we do make the playoffs. I will be honest, I did not have the team making the playoffs. I had us finishing probably 6. And if we really pushed 5 in the Pacific Division, right now we're in that 3 spot, which means that we would make the playoffs. We really need to stay there. And really try to avoid going into the wild card.
Yeah, that would be preferable. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it after just coming off of one of the only playoff runs of my entire life as a Seattle sports fan. At least when it comes to the Mariners, I'm very excited for the Kraken's first playoff run.
Yes, so, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Give us more. We want Seattle deep runs. I got to cover the Seattle Storm in their playoff run last year and this year as well. Of course, Subban. Now that's one Seattle team that needs to tap into the youth movement. And we'll see if they can keep Stewie. She's a free agent this year.
Yeah, we got to keep Stewie. We absolutely got to keep Stewie. And collect those draft picks.
Exactly.
We love draft picks here in Seattle.
We love that. That's what we do in Seattle.
Seahawks got 4 top 50 picks in the upcoming draft. Mariners got 3 top 30 picks. Kraken have like 1 billion picks.
1 million for the next 3 years. Like,
what are we doing here?
Come on, Storm. What's going on? Fantastic. Well, Ty, this was a lot of fun. We're going to have to do it more often. We know that things are getting hot and heavy when it comes to, again, off-season moves in baseball. And soon enough, we'll have that trade deadline for the Seattle Kraken. But either way, we're looking forward to Seattle sports in the spring and then certainly come January 1, 2024. But Ty, Dane, Gonzalez of Locked On Mariners, thanks so much for joining us. Let the folks know how they can follow you, especially those listening on audio, if they can't see your little information there on video.
Well, again, thank you so much for the invite, Erica. It was a lot of fun. I love talking hockey, especially just being casual. It's cool. It's nice. It's a nice change of pace for me, honestly. Everyone can follow me on Twitter at Dane Gonzalez. It's DaneGNZLZ, and you can check out my show Locked On Mariners with my co-host Colby Patnode on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, just like you can get Locked On Kraken, Locked On Seahawks, all the Locked On Seattle sports affiliates. And you can also check out our Patreon. We talk even more about the Mariners, and I even talk a little bit about the Kraken on there sometimes and do my best. Patreon.com/control the zone for that.
Fantastic. And just for Mariners fans, of course, you can listen to Locked On Kraken. We're part of the Locked On Sports Network, and you can find me at elindsay08. That's ELINDSAY. And so if you are a Seattle sports fan, including the OL Reign and the Seattle Storm, then make sure you're following me come the summer months, because I'll be keeping up with NWSL as well as WNBA. But that is all for our Squadcast, first ever between Locked On Mariners and Locked On Kraken. As we say over on Locked On Kraken, we hope that you hold fast, you stay true, and of course, we'll keep it general this time and say, let's go Seattle.
Let's go Seattle, baby.